Like and subscribe right now, or you're going to have terrible luck for the next week. What do you think of superpowers? Do you think that they're just a figment of the imagination? Or do they truly exist? What of mutants? Do you think that there are mutants living amongst us, just like in the movies? You probably don't. You probably believe none of that nonsense. Superpowers? What a bowl of rubbish, you probably say. Well, this is 100M, and today's video, we may just change your mind. These are 10 people with real superpowers. Number 1 will blow your mind to bits. Yes, you heard that right. Number 10. Eero Mäntyranta. How high is your level of endurance? Do you quickly tire after running a mile or two? Well, most people do. In fact, the endurance level of most modern humans is low. There are some people, of course, who have extremely high endurance levels, but they are few and far in between. They are also usually people with bodies in optimal condition, like professional athletes or soldiers, for example. But imagine a person with endurance levels so great that it doesn't even compare to that of soldiers or athletes. Imagine our friend, Eero. Eero was a Finnish skier who was always suspected of blood doping because of the unnatural composition in his blood. His red blood cell count was always 20% above that of other athletes. This meant that Eero had a higher than normal blood oxygen level and always had an unfair advantage over his mates. The fact that he could carry 50% more oxygen in his blood than others meant that when they got tired, he was basically just starting. But this advantage wasn't unnatural. In fact, it was very natural. It was so natural that it affected 50 members of his extended family. So what was the cause of this natural and fair advantage? Well, Eero had a mutated gene that gave him high sensitivity to the hormone erythropoietin, or EPO. Basically, EPO increases the rate of red blood cell production during exertion, and this brings in more oxygen to keep the muscles going. For Eero, this meant that his body overproduced hemoglobin. So what did Eero use his power for? Did he use it to fight crime? Well, I suppose we can't say for sure. After all, the best masked heroes remain masked. Number 9. Liam Hoekstra. At just 5 months old, Liam Hoekstra started doing an expert gymnast move called the Iron Cross. Yes, at 5 months old. At 5 months old, you probably couldn't lift yourself, but Liam had already mastered a gymnast move that very few gymnasts can perform. At 8 months, he began to do pull-ups, and by the time he was 9 months, he could climb up and down the stairs. But how did this happen? How did this child gain what can only be termed as superhuman strength? Well, in 1998, researchers discovered a gene that is now known as myostatin in mice, and much later in a breed of muscular cattle known as the Belgian Blue. This gene works as a muscle growth inhibitor and basically makes it hard for the body muscles to grow. It follows that if myostatin levels are high in one person, they may not be able to have a lot of muscle mass. However, if the levels of these hormones are low, they may have high levels of muscle mass. And that's exactly what happened to Liam. He's a normal boy in every sense of the word, doctors say. But he may well turn out to be stronger than most of his peers because of his abnormal growth in muscle mass. Imagine being a boxer or weightlifter with such a superpower. Number 8. Abby Rose. Have you ever thought of how much time you lose sleeping, and how you could have used that time to do literally anything else? Well, that's one problem Abby Rose never has to worry about. While most people need 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, Abby can function perfectly on just 5. And yes, she can do this without being groggy or cranky or needing copious doses of coffee. But how can Abby do this? Well, she's one of the few humans with a mutation on the DEC2 gene. This gene is the circadian rhythm regulator. And this mutation is the reason why she needs only the bare minimum of shut-eye time to function perfectly. Number 7. Extremely high bone density. One of the greatest strengths of Superman is that he is indestructible. So indestructible that he can fall from a 100-story high building and break no bones. He can also emerge unscratched from a motor accident without breaking a bone. And in that sense, this unnamed man from Connecticut is just like Superman. In the 1990s, a radiologist got the shock of his life when a man came into the hospital and told him he'd been in an accident. After the x-ray, the radiologist was amazed to realize that the man had extremely dense bones. In fact, later bone density tests revealed that it was by far the highest ever recorded. Let's break it down. This man's bones were so dense that he said he'd never been able to float in water. His bones were just too thick. It's little wonder that he emerged from a car accident without a single broken bone. Number 6. Daniel Browning. Daniel Browning Smith is called the rubber body for a reason. What's that reason? Well, he can do incredible things like passing his body through a tennis racket and turning his torso 180 degrees. You probably think you've seen flexible stuntmen before, but Smith's level of skill is just ridiculous. So ridiculous that it isn't just a skill anymore or some random natural trait. It has a genetic underpinning because we know that humans aren't normally supposed to be able to do things like that. Daniel Browning actually has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a disease that alters the structure of collagen in the body and gives him great elasticity in places like his joints and muscles. Daniel says that he discovered this ability to be extremely flexible when he was 4. What happened? Well, he jumped off a bunk bed and landed in a split. Number 5. Wim Hof. Do you think how low your heating bill would be if you could just decide whether or not to feel cold? Imagine that you could use sheer will and determination to avoid getting cold. Imagine that you could regulate your body temperature the way you can regulate the temperature of a room. That'd be awesome, right? Well, Wim Hof doesn't have to imagine this. He can already do it. He's known as the Iceman in the Netherlands, and he's an extreme athlete known for his superhuman ability to withstand freezing temperatures. He has set a Guinness World Record for swimming under ice, and he once submerged himself in an ice bath for about 2 hours. Let's be clear, a normal human being shouldn't be able to do that, but Wim could. Besides this, he also climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in nothing but a pair of shorts. If that isn't the stuff of legends, I don't really know what is. But how can he do it? Well, Wim has only one answer for everyone asking: sheer will and focus. And this isn't just a tagline that means nothing. Researchers have verified his claim and found out that it's true. When in freezing conditions, Wim's body starts to heat up in extraordinary fashion. Unfortunately, we don't know exactly why or how Wim can do this. This is one superpower that even science can't explain. Number 4. Ben Underwood. Have you seen Daredevil? Yes? Okay, great. Ben Underwood is an American who was born in Riverside, California. At the age of 2, he was diagnosed with retinal cancer, and at the age of 3, he had his eyes removed. However, at the age of 5, something remarkable happened. Ben taught himself echolocation. If you didn't know before now, echolocation is a special kind of sonar used by whales, bats, and dolphins. It allows them to use sounds to see. Very soon, Ben was able to see the world around him by making clicking sounds with his tongue. These sounds went out, bounced off things in Ben's environment, and returned to his ears with information of how the world looked. This ability allowed Ben to actually see, and he was able to rollerblade with his friends and even play basketball. It doesn't get more superhuman than that, does it? Number 3. Natalia Natasha. Natasha is a Russian woman who claims to be able to see through people. And no, not in that way. She means like an actual X-ray. And this X-ray not only allows her to see people's bones like regular X-rays, but it also allows her to see whether they have diseases or not. Cool, right? Well, it gets cooler. Natasha didn't just make this claim. She actually went about Russia doing it. Since Natasha was 10, Russian doctors have used her to aid medical diagnosis. Before long, her fame grew and she was invited to Europe to demonstrate her talents for skeptical researchers. While in Europe, she managed to scan a woman and was able to successfully identify all the fractures and metal pins in her. This was particularly impressive because the woman had just been in a plane crash. Unfortunately, this hasn't yet convinced skeptics, and they've been wary to verify her claims. Now it's time for today's best pick. Our best picture for today was sent in by a subscriber. If you come across a picture online and would like to know more about it, you can send it in to us. Who knows? Your picture might even get featured in a future video. Number 2. Eddie Hall. What kind of list would this be if we didn't include people with actual superhuman strength? Eddie Hall's picture is probably right next to the meaning of strongman in the dictionary. In 2017, Eddie won the World's Strongest Man competition. In 2016, he became the world record deadlift holder, lifting 500 kilograms. That's almost the weight of a car. What this means is that lifting a car halfway will probably just be a mild inconvenience for Eddie. Today, he's definitely one of the strongest men in the world and has titles to that effect. Unlike many on this list, Eddie's strength doesn't come from biological conditions or paranormal inclinations. Instead, it comes from hard work and perseverance. So maybe Eddie isn't the Superman we're hoping for, but maybe we shouldn't be hoping for a Superman. Maybe we should hope for a Batman instead. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you'll get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it. It really works. Number 1. The supervillain's dream. Superhuman gifts aren't for superheroes alone. In fact, cinematic history is rife with people with superhuman gifts and abilities who've gone over to the dark side. This superpower is the supervillain's dream, and it's named dermatoglyphia. Basically, it's a genetic condition where one has no fingerprints. Yep, no fingerprints whatsoever. Imagine having this condition and having to go through immigration. That would be a hell of a day. While we don't have the particulars of people with this condition, we do know that they exist, and we know they would make the best criminals. Imagine never having to worry about some sample at a crime scene, matching your prints because they don't even exist in the first place. Just imagine that. And with that, we come to the end of today's video. We hope you enjoyed the video as much as we enjoyed making it for you. If you did, please like and subscribe for years of amazing luck. Thank you, and remember to stay safe.